This is WTXN TV 40. WTXN TV 40, Dover, Delaware. We're going to do a final voice check here. This is WTXN TV, Channel 40 in Dover. Not an actual station, but more of a tribute. We got 5 minutes before GameCenter 40 comes on the air. We have 5 minutes before GameCenter 40 comes on the air, ladies and gentlemen.
TV40's the one for all.
Making friends and sharing feelings whenever it counts, we'll always be there.
Got the coast and country, got the sun and sea, and we're proud to be part of the community. For all the ways you're growing, reaching out and standing tall. For all the things we're knowing, TV40's the one for all. For all the times together, for moments you'll recall. For always and forever, we're the one for all. TV40's the one for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to GameCenter 40 for Friday, January 31st, 2020. Here are tonight's top stories. I obviously forgot to turn off the end music, too. Overwatch's global esports plans have taken a blow today because Blizzard has announced that the China-based tournaments that would have been taking place in February and March have been canceled following the outbreak of the coronavirus that has sickened about 10,000 people and killed about 150. A statement posted to the Overwatch League's Twitter account last night stated the decision was made to protect the health and safety of their players, fans, and staff. Prior to the announcement, China's Overwatch teams had outlined their own contingency plans for dealing with the coronavirus outbreak. Shanghai and Guangzhou, the Charge and the Dragons, have moved their preseason operations to South Korea for the time being. It will probably not affect operations of the overall league schedule, which is slated to begin February 8th in Dallas and New York. The Mario Kart controversy is finally over. Mario Mobility Development's appeal has been denied by the Intellectual Property High Court in Tokyo and is now on the hook for 50 million yen in damages, about $475,000. Nintendo initially sued the company, then named Mario Kart, for infringing on the Mario Kart IP in 2016 and sought only 10 million yen in punitive damages. The lawsuit reached a climax in February 2017, with Mario Mobility intending to appeal and pay the 40 million yen. The final appeal was rejected. Another 10 million yen has been added to the judgment, which Mario Mobility is now forced to pay. Nintendo announced that its Nintendo Switch consoles have sold 52.5 million units worldwide, putting it above Super Nintendo for a number of units sold, which was 49.1 million when it reached the end of its sales back in 1997. The creator of One Piece has also given notice of something in his Twitter account in dozens of languages, and it appears that the live-action One Piece is finally having an outlet, Netflix, and the number of episodes have been posted at 10, but there is still no word of when it will appear there. Stephen Maeda will be the showrunner, and Matt Owens will be writing for the series, and no one has been cast at this time. GameCenter has some new icons in its data that appear to be pointing towards an international release of Kunio-kun, the World Classics Collection, as Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler Bundle. The original Japanese release includes not only the original versions of the game, but also all but 2 versions of the games that landed in international shores. This comes after some new spirits have appeared in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. It was confirmed by Nintendo's president Shuntaro Furukawa that the company will own the full inalienable rights to the Illumination produced Super Mario movie, set to release in 2022, with production moving along smoothly. It is also announced that he is considering expanding the number of Nintendo stores both domestically in Japan and internationally abroad. He's also reported that there are no plans to launch a new Nintendo Switch model during 2020, which is in response to the Digitimes reports of possible rumors of a new Switch model. And Pokemon Day, which is February 27th, will have some nice surprises in store for a max raid battle in Sword and Shield, an in-game event in Pokemon Go, and a new mythical Pokemon to be revealed in the recently announced anime film Pokemon the Movie Coco. More announcements will be forthcoming as we get closer to the date. When we come back on GameCenter 40, Super Bowl, and why Twitch will be taking some of the audience on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. Avast will shut down its information collecting arm, and we'll have the weather. See how we do when it comes to the rain and whether it's partly cloudy. Stay with us. This Sunday marks the big game in Miami. But so does this Saturday in the streaming world, which will host its own big game celebration, partnering with NFL Players Association, Verizon, and TurboTax. This game is a show of goodwill from Twitch to the National Football League, who themselves want to extend their partnership with Twitch for another 2 years. Though the league remains unconvinced that streaming will take over as the primary broadcast medium, Business and Media Officer Ron Ralap explained to CNBC that it can't have escaped the league's notice that a lot of its players are interested in streaming, especially the young and internet-literate ones. Days after it became known that Avast Antivirus was harvesting browsing data and selling it to advertisers, the CEO of the company has announced that it will be shutting down the subsidiary with immediate effect and will be terminating the employees working for the company. A joint investigation between Motherboard and PC Mag shows details on how Avast was collecting the data via its antivirus software. A subsidiary known as JumpShot claimed to have data from up to 100 million devices, listed some of the world's largest corporations as clients. Though the subsidiary is shutting down, the CEO, Rick, stated that both Avast and JumpShot acted fully within legal bounds and committed themselves to 100% GDPR compliance. I'll bet that compliance just amounted to, well, it wouldn't be right to say it on there. I do think it amounts to a lot of amounts of money being paid. Alright, now let's take a look. Let's take a look live at Rehoboth Beach. See what's going on out there. Ooh, got very bright lights shining at the whoever's camera that is tonight. And although it looks to be clear, we may have some trouble coming throughout the night. But I'll tell you how much trouble we may be in. Let's just go over for tonight's national weather, and there's the area right there. That's all of Delaware and most of Maryland. That'll be getting a bit of rain. Western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio will be getting a bit of snow, and got a bit of New York in there sharing in all the fun. And that whole system is going bye-bye. It's leaving the United States, while another one is coming in, practically begging to take over the country. For tomorrow, that system is going to Florida, so you haven't seen the last of it. All these systems. Well, I guess it's really weird because these systems are actually moving westward instead of eastward, whereas, weather, wisdom, typically states, northern hemisphere, all these systems have to move eastward. So we may kind of have a bit of trouble here. Now let's take a look at tomorrow night. Like some shifting again, it's building up. Michigan under a lot of snow, no wintry mix except that portion of Michigan, Ohio. Yeah, I picked that one up from listening to a YouTube. There's the border of Michigan and Indiana. They call it Michiana. Never been there, but can't say I don't know where they picked up the name. And now, let's see what we have tonight. At the time the data was recorded, Dover was at 47 degrees, and so were the suburbs. It's probably, obviously, a bit lower now, but the The high today was 48 and the low temperature was 34. And once again, this is at the time it was recorded, which was about an hour ago. Actually, not an hour ago, 2 hours ago. The barometer was 30.21 and falling, with the humidity being 69%, and the winds were going northeast at 3 miles an hour. This is at around 4:30 p.m. Now, let's get to something that will be right at the time of recording, and that'll be the forecast for tonight. Showers early, clearing late, low 35. You definitely see all that scattered rain. And this is why I said it would be a problem at the rest of the night. But it looks like in Rehoboth it might be showers late, cloudy early. Anyways, for Dover, the record high was 64. That was in 2013. And the record low was 12 degrees, set back in 2000. Alright, let's take a look at tomorrow's weather. Which isn't going to be much better. It's cloudy, and the high is 48 degrees. The sun will rise at 7:09 a.m. tomorrow morning, and the sun will set at 5:22 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Now, let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. So tomorrow we have cloudy, a high 38 and low 48, low 36. And it'll be clearing out for partly cloudy skies on Sunday. And evolving into mostly sunny on Monday. And don't worry, the twos will be gone next broadcast because tomorrow is February. So on Tuesday we'll be having mostly cloudy skies. We have a high of 61. Wednesday, Thursday, and next Friday, it's showers, rain, showers, the whole 9 yards from Wednesday to Friday. But we're going to have some temperature discrepancies right there. And when I say some temperature discrepancies, obviously they're going to be discrepancies. When we come back, Microsoft is extending its bug bounty hunting program. Stay with us at GameCenter 40 for all the latest information on that. Talk a bit about tonight, and I think I'll be glad to end off on this note. Finally tonight, Microsoft is launching an Xbox bug bounty hunting program, and it aims to reward anyone who manages to discover a vulnerability in Xbox Live's network and its services, ranging from $500 in the lowest tier to $20,000 for something that can be patched out in an update, and even bigger payouts for critical remote code execution and elevation of privilege flaws. Microsoft is opening it up to gamers and everyone who has the skills to find said flaws. However, for the big money, the reports do have to be highly detailed in either a write-up or a video demonstration, plus a proof of concept. However, DDoSing, engineering attacks, and going too far server-side will result in disqualification of the rewards. And that is all for GameCenter for you tonight. I'd like to thank you for actually finished early. I can't believe we finished early. Well, who wants longer commercial breaks next time? Because I fit something in the 30 minutes content. Actually came out to about 20. I wouldn't do this until the gaming stream. It's time to give out some information about the program itself. We're working on a new opening, and we will also be using another theme. The GameCenter 40 from January 10th. I'll have to look back on that, but I think it will be the 10th. Had been copyright claimed by the one who represented the song we were using. Heard it's a plain super, and the exact theme you heard at the beginning of this program. Come March, we will no longer be using it. But go off. And this is for fans of the gaming stream, which they should come to in about 10 minutes, maybe less. But I have here for Game Boy. I hope I will not be doing this often on the newscast portion of the stream. But I got some time. I need to fill out the remaining 8 minutes. Something I clearly don't account for when I do transcript. I would like to thank the people that originally wrote the articles that I wound up presenting to you tonight. And although they may see this someday, really write to them that everyone watching this right now were to go to their websites. Websites are The Verge, Anime News Network, and Silicon Era. While I may have collected too few articles, yes, too few, which is why I'm running long on time instead of short on time. Tonight's game of choice will be my own. And here's how we make it streamer's choice. I have here the Super Game Boy. Once we transfer over to Twitch, about 5 minutes, I will pick a game that I personally like, and that's on the list. We switch games along the way, but no, that'll be for all our enjoyment. Sadly, this is a fixed camera, so I will show you on air Super Nintendo and me plugging this cartridge into it. It's in. Now, another tidbit about GameCenter 40. The name comes from two very different locations, and two, surprisingly, sources of inspiration. Two surprising sources of inspiration. You may notice the background behind me as it reads out GameCenter 40. But I'm going to break an illusion for you right now. Green screen. And I know that we aren't the first news program to actually utilize it. And not just for a weather background either. However, I think I'm the only one to utilize it for a fixed camera. Really have anything to say for this broadcast. That is all for GameCenter 40 tonight. And I would like to thank you for being with us. Coming up next is the gaming segment on Twitch.tv. The link will appear in about a couple seconds after this broadcast ceases. Those leaving, thanks for being with us, and we'll catch you next time.